Good morning, everybody. We are here in the studios today with Mr. CHARLTON, CEO or Chief Executive Officer of ASTRA Metals Systems Limited, who have operations in Goa. Mr. COLLACO, thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. It's kind of you.
It's a pleasure.
Let us go straight to early beginnings.
Yeah.
I believe you started among your own professional colleagues. Tell us more.
Yes, that's true. Well, it was just after college that we got a job, a campus placement rather, in a place called Ahmednagar, way out of Goa, and we got working there for a company called Kinetic Engineering.
Right,
Earlier days when they used to make the kinetic scooters. Yes, that's where we got our job first. And then we probably worked there for about 4 months, and then evenings when after work we realized that nothing. We used to kind of figure out where are we heading. So it is then that another classmate also who was in the same thing, Mr. Satish Shinde.
Yeah.
So we decided, why don't we go back, and go back in Goa and start something. Well, we're really clueless about how we're going to go about it, but nevertheless we said, come on, let's just do that, because this in any case is not taking us anywhere. So Satish, first he wrote to his dad and asked him that he has these plans of starting something with a friend, and would it be okay? So his dad promptly wrote back. Those days they were the inland letters.
Yeah, that's
I remember. He wrote back, yes, and there's a program called an Entrepreneurship Development Program that's going to start anytime now. Why don't you register for that? So the day he got the letter, the very next day he put in his papers and he headed back to Goa. Whereas me, I was, I had an important project. I didn't want to abandon it just like that. So I said, let me just complete it. It was around Christmas time at that time.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I finished that project, and then I came down for Christmas. And spent Christmas with my parents, and then I had no courage to tell them, that I have quit my job and I intend starting something, because even when it comes to putting in some money to start the business, we were quite clueless about that.
Yes,
But nevertheless, I had to tell them, and but my mother also was a very courageous kind. She always gave me a free hand with everything,
right,
in the way that I would think and do and all that. So, that's how we kind of, took the plunge. So,
what was the product you started with?
when we first started, you see, the thing is, when we are out of college, the training in college is so very rudimentary, that you really don't have any expertise to take on to anything big. So we started in a very, very small bay, like it was almost like a garage kind of thing, in Ponda, in Betora, and we started with doing very rudimentary things like grills, gates, structural sheds, and things like that. And it was in the early days, when I and Satish, we used to work together. We really never thought about where's the finance coming from and how we are going to manage this and all. We just kept working and working. In fact, at days sometimes between the two of us, we just had a single bike, which we used to share. We used to share that bike.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. So but then we kept going and pulling on to this, and then but somehow deep down inside we knew that we had to do something bigger, better, and things like that. And it's until one fine day, when we were doing on this site works in Verna, I came across this CEO from Siemens, and asking him, is there any opportunity for doing something, on a better scale and things like that. He said, yes, certainly there is. Because they were setting up this new factory for making medical equipment, and it required some very high-end sheet metal fabrication, which basically was all CNC based stuff.
Right,
So he says, but it calls for a lot of investment, but you can, the opportunity is there, because we would require a supplier somewhere here locally in Goa. So, well, I took that in mind, and after, when I met Satish next, I told him this is where it is. So he says, why don't we start that? So he is one guy who has got some great capabilities when it comes to networking or organizing finance and all that. Because at that time probably we were on a very small scale, the kind of, and this would call for a huge jump in terms of investment. It was some crores of rupees when we were just doing a few, not even doing a few lakhs of rupees. But nevertheless, we went through EDC, and then they were very, very helpful for us. And Goa, they were, I remember when we did that entrepreneurship development course, some of those officers probably they saw that kind of spark in the two of us, and they decided to kind of finance us. And also, even after that financing, it wasn't still good enough because it was a couple of crores of rupees. So then Siemens themselves also chipped in. They said, "Okay, we will help you do some kind of financing." And that's how we took the big plunge.
Wow, fantastic!
It was like importing machinery from Japan. And I remember the same machines when we used to do our training in college. We were not even allowed to go close to the machines. It was in Bombay, in the Godrej and Vikroli, when Satish was there, and I was in another company called Richardson Cruders. It was that high end, and we just decided to take this plunge. And the initial days were, of course, difficult.
So 3 wonderful things Mr. Collaso is telling us, Mr. Charlton Collaso is telling us 3 things. 1, perseverance. 2, EDC, where they actually train you to be an entrepreneur. And 3, finances. They themselves financed part of the project, but with their grit and determination, finances came from other sources. So you young entrepreneurs who are thinking of getting into business, perseverance is the key. Just go for it, and you will get there sometime. Okay, Mr. Collaso, tell us, now you have been 20 years in this ASTRA Metal Systems Limited. It's a public limited company now.
Yes.
And that is a lot of development in 20 years. Why did you all go public?
It's public is basically cheaper finance. Because the risk factor is a lot less where you have equities based on public finance. It helps us to take more risk.
That's right.
Because the thing is that we just kind of realize all along the journey, every time we did something, an investment in a newer technology, it holds you well for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
Like now earlier when we were almost the pioneers. We were the first people in Goa to set up CNC punching.
Okay.
Then we were the first people to set up CNC laser cutting in Goa. But today, over the years, that has become mainstream even in Goa. Of course, there are not many, but still it is almost becoming mainstream. So we wanted to further scale up, go into some even further technologies, because one thing that we do in order to always keep ourselves abreast, we always go for exhibitions abroad. Like Euroblack in Germany is something that we always go. It's an every 2-year kind of thing. Where on display is the world's best, the latest. And that calls for a huge amount of investment. And coupled with it, today competition has also become very, very fierce. Besides being fierce, because there are more players in the field, and the jobs also available are job shopping is also lesser. So we wanted to go up even further. So something that is really high end stuff, because the soft skills is what we have now. We really require better equipment. So this is where we thought was a better way to have access to better finance.
So now how many plants do you have?
Well, in Goa we have 3 plants. We have one in Chennai, which was basically an acquisition. We again it was another kind of a big step that we took a few years back. HCL Infosys, the guys who have HCL computers. They wanted to exit out of manufacturing because their skills are largely on software. So they had a plant. In fact, they started off the hard way, using fabrication. So we bought up their plant. It was a full setup with the latest equipment and all that. And It had another division which also was part of it, was an aerospace division, catering to aerospace. So we acquired that plant, yeah, and that's how we are in Chennai.
So now you're in aviation as well.
Yes.
So what do you supply to the
they're
aviation companies?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they are not really high-tech parts. I mean, they are not really high-end parts. But even a smallest part that goes into aviation, calls for a different kind of thing, because the safety factors, as you know, in the aviation industry, are of the highest order. So yeah, but we do supply parts to Airbus, Boeing, some companies.
Oh, so you're also feeding the international industry?
Yes,
not just the Indian industry.
No, it is it all is all exported. None of it is in India.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. That's fantastic, really. Is that probably one of the reasons you have recently won national award in India?
Probably. I don't know. That could be one of them. I think, but largely it's a culmination of all the other activities that we do. Because you see, one of the things that I must really mention, that EDC undoubtedly has been very, very helpful to us in every which way. At the same time, the trust factor, they also come with us because we have also been very regular with our payments.
Okay, right.
So I think so it builds on that. So, they wanted to also say that yes, no doubt they helped us. But then, we also, were regular in our payments. And I think that's a very necessary, ethic for any business people to have. If they want to grow, they must also be, good with their payments. And whether it is payments back to the institutions, payment back to the vendors that help us also grow. Right, I think that's important. Yeah.
Have you all ever, for example, failed in a particular installment?
Oh yes, we did. Again, I just remember that, just after we started our Verna unit, when you take that high jump, it's almost difficult to meet up your, because because when we did that thing, it was a lot of learning first.
That's right.
First we had to learn the technology, learn this thing, and still be able to scale up, and we just couldn't manage that. So in the early first 2 or 3 years, we defaulted.
Right.
But thankfully, again, knowing our past and our vendors also, knowing that we were earlier, good and normally in our payments, they held on.
Okay.
I think that was something that held us in good stead.
Wonderful, wonderful. Tell me now, you have got a strength of approximately how many people in your 4 plants total?
Yeah, probably around 500 or 600 now. Yes.
Now I was reading your company on the website, and it says one of the things that you have done very well is training your staff.
Yeah.
Now, what is this training that you do for your staff, and where do you do it, etc., etc.?
Yeah, see that I think so. Training is such an imperative and integral part of the growth story, because in order to to keep up with technology, whether to keep up with the soft practices, because see what happens is that again all our clientele are either MNCs or some of them are located abroad. So, you have to have good systems in place, whether it is a quality management system, like we are an ISO 9001 company, right from, I don't know, as long as I can remember.
Wow, okay.
We are perhaps among the first companies, that went in for this certification.
All right, okay.
In Goa. So all your people have got to be in sync with, understanding the systems. So there's a lot of training that goes. I remember, there's a thing called lean manufacturing. It's like helps you how to be very nimble and effective in your manufacturing. So we had taken a consultant for almost 3 years. He trained us on those lean practices, because lean is something that the Japanese pioneered. Toyota in Japan, they pioneered. So we took in this consultant, and that has also been a huge helping for us in our way forward. Okay. It has helped us how to be very nimble, very quick, have least amount of inventories and things like that. So that is.
Now tell me, coming to your labor and staffing, what is the complement of our local population in your company?
Well, largely I would say as far as staff is concerned, most of it are Goan. Whereas workmen, the work on the shop floor, The ones that man our machines, all the CNC machines that are there, they are largely local.
Okay.
Because I do understand that first of all the locals are, they're quite quick on the uptake.
Yeah, that's right.
They learn quickly, and then again what happens with the locals, they stay back.
Okay.
Whereas the outsiders, we take them more for menial jobs like things like loading, unloading,
right, yeah.
packing, and
Okay.
all those kind of things, which we still do require a large amount of those guys. So what happens, they annually they go for a long holiday for a month or so.
Right.
So we cannot have a break in operation.
That's right, yeah.
So that's why by strategy we all our main operations, like the machines, the handling, the stores, they're all manned by local
Now,
staff.
when you say staff, what kind of qualification does your staff have?
They're largely engineers.
Okay.
Largely engineers.
Means
because-
they are full-fledged engineers or diploma holders?
no, there are diploma holders,
Okay.
a large number of them, and we do have a large number of degree holders as well. Yeah, and because the thing is that all these CNC machines basically require softwares like AutoCAD, SolidWorks, all this software which basically converts digital language into working.
So when you say engineers, which branch of engineering are you looking for?
Largely we take mechanical engineers who have got exposure to designing.
Right. Okay.
These are where they are the guys who do the basic functioning of the factory.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are these engineers easily available, or you really got to struggle to get them?
No, I mean the thing is that invariably we take in fresh engineers, because what happens, it's very very difficult to get engineers who are trained in our kind of work. So we take them as absolute freshers, and then we put them through a training period. Get them ready to do the work that we normally require.
Okay. And do those engineers stay on, or do they also take flight?
Oh yes, they do take flight. The thing is that about us, what happens is that these engineers, they are well trained in our organizations, because they learn all the skills that an MNC would require.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Well, certainly we cannot pay the salaries that an MNC pays. So after 3-4 years of working, they are trained engineers for the MNCs. But honestly, we really don't mind, because we never ever as a matter of fact held them back if they're getting a better opportunity. So we tell them, okay, you can go ahead, and then that's how it really.
Do you do campus interviews?
Not many really.
I see.
No, not many.
So, how do you normally get this? You advertise through your website?
We run ads in the local newspaper.
Okay.
And then that's how we get them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And what about these labours? I mean, how do you get them?
Labours, there are, as far as the locals thing is concerned, usually, it's by word of mouth, they just get another guy and things like that. Whereas the contractual labour, as you say, the ones that, which we require seasonally.
That's right.
Yeah, you have people who kind of get them in.
Okay, right. Yes. So let me ask you one final question, Mr. Charlton. There is always young fellows thinking of getting into business like you did. What is the advice you would give them?
Oh well, first thing is that I always go with this saying, if you try, you might. If you don't, you won't. Yeah, so I think so. No, you must take that. There is a lot of thrill, doing your own work, because. What you can do is the sky is the limit, because you decide what you want to do, which way you want to go, and how you can do. It's a wonderful journey being on your on your own, and also you create a lot of employment, you create a lot of money generation happens and things like that. So I would certainly suggest to anybody young to just take the plunge, because the opportunities are plenty, and once you're in it, your mind just keeps going and tells you which way you should go.
Right. Now, you are in engineering basically.
Yes.
So, as far as engineers are concerned, you recommend to them that it is worth taking a plunge.
Absolutely.
What about non-engineers? What do you feel about that?
There are opportunities for every kind of people. Believe me, we have some of our staff who are non-engineers who are as good as engineers.
All right. Okay.
Yes. So the early guys who we had taken as different things, but then they learned the ropes, and today they are as good as anybody else. And engineering is not the only way where commerce happens. There are so many other ways that you can really build businesses, because I think so in India especially the opportunities are tremendous. But one only requires to have the courage to take the plunge, and at a younger age you have that the leverage to do so.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
But finance is one of the obstacles, isn't it?
It is, but then today if you have a good idea, like unlike the early days, there's no such thing like angel funding and all this kind of thing. Today there are people who are willing to put in that money, and when you have that burning desire, I think the money will just come.
Yeah,
like the way it happened in our case. I mean, for us taking that plunge, it was completely out of this thing. But it just kind of, when you have that urge, it just happens.
Now you've done 20 years. What's your plan for the next 20?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we still find things interesting, and so I guess we'll keep going up the value chain, moving upwards, because if you see, there's a lot of talk, that says manufacturing is dying, and it's only, but it can never, because you still require stuff to do that.
Yeah.
And then again, what has happened? There's a lot of engineers today. They start out as engineers and then they go into finance and things like that. But I think so there's enough opportunity for everything. There's a place for everything, whether it is manufacturing, whether it's innovation, whether it's IT. There is enough place, but you just got to find that.
Right. Mr. Charlton, thank you so much for your time. Thank you especially for the advice you have given our young people in Goa, because I think they need that boost to say, yes, I can.
Yeah.
And then things will happen.
And I believe me, Goans are entrepreneurial in nature. If you ask me, though they might say Goans are susegad and all that, but now trends are changing. I've seen Goans who can really work hard, and when they're exposed, they can surely make it.
So Goans are not really susegad. Hear it from the CEO of ASTRA Metals Systems Limited.
Yeah.
Goans are not susegad.
So
there you are. Go for it,
yeah.
and you can one day be as influential as the CEO of ASTRA Metals. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes.